creation. One, a gap between equitable access to AI resources. Second, a fragmentation in approach to handling AI. And that will definitely call for the next wave of diplomacy that will be AI diplomacy. Now, that may include the infrastructure diplomacy, sovereignty, and whatnot. In terms of creating the ecosystem for companies to operate, how do you see this AI diplomacy leading to a governance framework which will speak the language of developing nations? One. Second, India's unique model of the sovereignty and open innovation. How do you see we can position for all of us to have an access to market that no one has seen before?
Thank you. It's a very pertinent question, particularly in the times we are in. As you know, when we talk about AI diplomacy, I think AI governance becomes the center of it. And the AI governance, if you look at, is so fragmented, as you said. And the developing countries, particularly the global south, is not finding a place in that. That is something, unless we have them on the board, I think you can talk of any sort of AI governance or so, it is not going to serve the purpose, So we need to look at particularly how can we include, the countries of global south and particularly the citizens of global south in the AI governance framework. So, to my mind, I think the first thing which we need to do is perhaps look at a framework where uh, the countries of global south also get representation. As of now, if you look at various, forums where talks about AI governance is happening, uh, global south is not much represented, and that is something which is creating some sort of fragmentation in the sense that their voices are not heard. Uh, there also, I think, developing nations. I think should be the co-creator of all architects of the standards on data governance, algorithm, accountability, safety, and cross-border data flow. I think if they are not finding the place in that, I think that's not going to have a global governance, as to say. So I think that is something very important to look at. We need to provide a place for developing countries to be in the discussions where these such discussions are happening. I think recently in the scientific panel, certain developing countries have found place. The UN, which has been created by the UN recently. So that is a start. Perhaps we need to look at more and more of this. This summit particularly is very important because this is a summit which is happening for the first time in a global south country. And I think this summit would provide a lot of opportunities for the global south to get into the governance frameworks. And the discussions which we are having now, the sutras which we have, planet, people, and progress, and also the seven chakras, they would provide the framework to go ahead, in the AI governance sphere. Another thing I think I want to emphasize is that AI governance must also be development centric. It cannot be only the risk which needs to be taken into consideration when we talk of AI governance. Uh, the global south has its own problems and we need to resolve those problems at population scale. For example, healthcare, education, these are the things where AI is going to make a difference. And if we don't have that in the governance framework, I think focusing only on the risk is not going to help much. Third thing I want to I think mention here is that trust must be built through interoperable frameworks. So I think I was having a discussion yesterday, and a very good term which came in the discussion was that we should have a globally interoperable framework and locally adaptable framework. I think that is very important. The framework which we are creating for AI governance should have the local context. That is very important. We should be, looking at particularly the problems, the issues, the specific contexts in which the frameworks are going to operate. So some of these, I think, are important when we talk about, AI diplomacy for AI, global AI governance. So that is, I think, we need to look at. You talked about how India's model offers a credible template in that. So I think you also mentioned about the DPI, which is, I think, an open source model which we have created for the world. We have given it to others also. So I think that is perhaps we can, it has also created a lot of, this is a model which perhaps at the same time it's an open, but it also create a lot of trust among the people. So that is something which we need to look at as we go forward. So India's model provide a kind of a template to Global South to go forward on this. And we will be very happy to assist in this direction to whoever wants to take it from us. Okay. We are already doing some work on AI diplomacy, or you can say the digital diplomacy. So that is something which we look forward to continue in time.
Thank you so much. I think two very important takeaways. One, you said we don't need to fix our attention only on risk. We need to look at the scale and the opportunity. And your other point on a globally interoperable framework, which is locally adoptable. The day that happens, then we are all in for a treat for a dinner, and we are done. I think we are then on the track. So that brings me to a very important on scale to you, Puneet, on scaling. Now you have been, Microsoft has been working with India on laying the digital foundation of Digital India, and now also the digitally intelligent India. Now, from your perspective, how do you see this transition from these pilots, large-scale AI pilots, to impact-driven business models, which will have a direct relevance and serving the needs of next billion, including the SMEs and the rural India? What's your vision, and how do you see we can do that?
First of all, I just want to emphasize what Sir said, right? Which is, I think India's got a terrific opportunity to set the template for population scale AI impact and for the global south and for the world. So +1 to what you said, sir. I think to your question, I think India has well moved ahead, moved beyond pilots. 2024 and a little bit of 2025 was pilots. A customer of mine was joking with me, I have more pilots than Lufthansa in my organization. Those days are over. I think that's gone. Now we're talking about scale, right? Be it financial services, Bajaj Finance, if you look at healthcare, Apollo Hospitals building clinician co-pilots, doctors using co-pilots, lawyers using co-pilots. The government, Ministry of Labour, is building eShram, which is an AI-driven platform for 300 million unorganized workers in this country. They're using AI to build CVs and do mock interviews. So it's happening at scale. I think the recipe is also evolving. I think there are 2 or 3 things that companies or businesses or public sector enterprises who are getting this right are doing. First is a real top-down ambition. Right? You have to, like, the leadership has to take charge. This is the time to be courageous and be bold on AI bets. And I see companies where the CEOs, the boards, the top leadership taking charge and setting a top-down goal do much better. Second, I think there's a lot of hobby projects going on, AI washing. Stop all of that stuff. Really focus on ROI for yourself and for your customers, be it top line or bottom line, be it customer experience, be it employees, be it building new things. And then finally, the last thing is skilling. Right? Every customer I meet, I ask them, how many people are you skilling in AI? Whatever number they give me, I add a 0 behind it. I say, even that is not enough. Like, everybody has to be skilled, right? Because if people are not skilled, people don't know how to think with AI, how to build with AI, how to get AI to work like a teammate. None of what I've said will work, right? So those 3 things, top-down emission, real focus on ROI and use cases, and then scaling and almost just thinking of a cultural renaissance. This is a mindset shift for all of us. I think that's what it'll take to scale.
Sure, thank you so much. I think the difference between the skilling and also on the horizontal capacity building of the sectoral workers also and sectoral experts also is important. And that brings one very important point, that is the infrastructure. And if I can come to you, Shashi, you have been enabling the infrastructure. Now, how do you see us taking cloud compute infrastructure now as a utility to lower the barrier for enterprise, at least for SMEs, to scale impact-driven AI business models without the heavy capex that has been a hindrance so far?
Thank you for that question, and a +1 to both. We are all in together trying to solve a much bigger opportunity here. There are 3 components, and what are we talking about? We are talking about intelligence as a utility. That's essentially the summation of AI. And the 3 big components are, 1, you really need a fantastic model, a rich foundational model. The model gets richer, then becomes more multimodal, then you have less and less effort and less prep within the business, within the enterprise to be done if you are working with a super rich model. And if you have more multimodal capabilities, not just text, but voice, video, gestures, graphics, whatever, then it becomes far more easier to engage and interact with the model. So that's the one big topic. Can you build those models, make those models available in the country at scale, so that it's like renting out a super brain to every business, right? That's essentially what it is. The second part of it is the super brain will work only when you have a phenomenal computing resource, and that points to the hardware within the deployment. The challenge there usually is that this hardware is so powerful that it will consume tons and tons of energy. So you have to plan for it. So how do you make hardware available? And so that's why we've been building tensor processing units for a little over a decade right now. And how do you optimize those to make it so super tight that you can even go back and say this is the price of token to watts, that level of telemetry and that level of optimization that is possible. And that's what is happening on the hardware side of it. Now, having done these two, you need to kind of orchestrate and balance this out to do things at scale. And that has got to do with a platform like Vertex, and there are many other platforms. But then there is something unique here when you do this orchestration on a single pane of glass. And that biggest challenge is you have to give choice to customers. You just can't do a one-fit model, right? Because customers are in various businesses. They will actually be specialists in their own businesses and want these models to work for them in very unique manner. So how do you accommodate all of that? How do you have an open enough platform that allows you a single pane of glass, that particular orchestration at scale? So all of these three are the vital levers of really taking AI down to the masses and operating it at nation scale or population scale. Now all of that is all good, but then we need something more. One is we need all of this locale in the country because you have to follow the laws of the land, and there is a tremendous amount of paranoia around residency, around security, around latency of networks. So you need to make those investments in the country, right? Something that we did, and I'm sure many others are also doing. Our WISAG announcement points to that particular investment that we are making in the country. Now that's one another thing. And then you need to bring in enough sovereignty and enough security on top of it to make sure that all businesses run safe and people are not second guessing or concerned every time they start engaging or interacting with AI.
Interesting, because both the technological expertise coming globally, but at the same time making it local for adaptation is the message that I could get from Shashi, and that gives us the next opportunity of moving beyond India and probably offering services to other countries who have a similar kind of a landscape. Maybe I can come to you, Mr. Rangnath Sadashiva. So, as CTO, you focus on how of technology. How do you see us now positioning as the primary solutions provider for other emerging economies that are facing similar situations, including the social infrastructure challenges that we have? What do you see is the path ahead for all of us in the room?
Yeah, very interesting. If you were to look at what everyone spoke, it speaks about the diversity that we have in an AI world. There are stacks and stacks of solutions that is available. Your ability to find your own way in amidst all of this is very, very important. And to say the least, that can change after 3 months, 4 months. So in that context, we are in a very, very dynamic world, especially when we're talking of AI. You can essentially look at the solutioning capabilities across 3 or 4 stacks, starting from infrastructure, models, orchestration, and use cases. And I would assume that there are a lot of solutioning that's possible. But one thing that's very unique from an India perspective is we have kind of addressed the bottom of the pyramid. Very large scale AI projects which are very foundational. Imagine a platform like Aadhaar, and you're going to book a ticket. It has a relevance there. You kind of pitch into that kind of database and information. The solutioning is creation of that kind of a platform that's enabling many other businesses across the board. I think that's where the excellence has come in the way that we have delivered the solutioning capability. And many of you would know that for all of these platforms, the kind of solutioning tools are very open source tools, in the sense that they drive the economy of scale as well as make it very economical for others. We have to solve for scale here. If somebody asks me to describe the call rates in India, I can't do that in USD. Perhaps it's a fraction of a cent, right? So that's the kind of solutioning that we need to do. So it is in that context that we have been able to do a lot of things. Does India have the talent and potential to do that? I guess we have a lot of it. We just have to streamline that. The amount of people in the GCC domain you would understand, and this kind of skill set that they have. If you're able to harmonize all of those skill sets, we can essentially run an enterprise like World from India. So that's the talent that we have today. But as I said, we'll have to figure out how we will do this solutioning. From an HP standpoint, we have been involved in several such kind of activities, and we see that it's slowly but steadily growing across the board. And in a solutioning like this, one thing that I would definitely want to see is the fact that we take everybody inside, everyone alongside, rather than doing it for a specific set. If it is an organization that is implementing AI, the AI education should be across the board. It can't be for a set of people, right? We call it democratizing technology. It better be democratizing across the board. So I see the skills being there. It's only the will and ability to kind of scale that across the board that matters.
Interesting. Thank you. Let me come to you, Sapna, now. A very important topic and area that we want to touch is secure AI and security of AI. Given the ambition of scaling to the next billion, that becomes, I think, the most important thing that one would look at. And somehow culturally we are still very open society when we talk what we should not talk. So if you go by a train, you're sitting 5 hours with the next person. By the time you get down, you know everything about that person. So that's our culture in terms of. So given that, my question to you is: we often treat security as the final bolt-on. That is, the foundational layer. As we move to the next billion user, why should we shift to a prevention-first secure AI? And more specifically, how should we shift to that? Very happy to hear your views.
Sure. Thank you, Lavnish, and good afternoon to all of you. It's a very vivacious audience outside as well as inside, hopefully. So coming to secure AI by design, we talked about a very important word for all the panelists here. It was mentioned one way or the other, is trust. When you're going to democratize an AI-based application, you expect billions of people to be banking with you, to be doing credit with you, to be sharing their medical information with this application, which is using AI in the background. You break that trust if the data that they're sharing with you is somehow leaked out. Because remember, for every good person using AI, there's also a threat actor using AI. So first is not breaking that trust. Second, doing secure AI by design also ensures economic resilience. We know time and again with many examples, day in, day out, the price to pay for a breach is much, much higher than the price to pay for securing your AI application in the design phase. I'm sure you all would agree. I can see a lot of heads nodding. Excellent. So how do we make this happen? That was your question, Lavnish. So let's move first of all from DevOps to DevSecOps. Let's move from MLOps to MLSecOps. So every phase of an AI application, which is now a living being, it's not client server, it's not a 3-tier, it's a living being. It's something which can tomorrow be born as an agent and then die off because the agent has finished its job. How do you treat this ephemeral thing and how do you ensure it's protected? So from the phase of data ingestion, ensure the integrity of the data. Remember, integrity before intelligence throughout the phase of developing this AI application. Second, the model learning phase itself. Ensure the integrity of the model is maintained across. And then in runtime, when the actual AI application is interacting with these billion users, ensure that the data they are submitting, the prompts they are submitting cannot be attacking the AI application. So there is security that has to be ensured runtime. And fourth, a very important pillar when it comes to AI-based applications is governance. You have to constantly keep testing every phase as you build this AI application, the integrity of every phase. So governance, constant governance is imperative as these AI applications become more and more democratized.
Thank you so much, and that's what I love about security discussion. All of us nod the head of VII, you are right. And then after we go out, can you check my password on my mobile, please? I give it to somebody else. Yeah, that's how it is. So I think one very important point that you raised is this whole shift in thinking, but I also want to go to the shift in architecture. Maybe to you as our final panelists, Subhadra, what do you see as the architectural shifts which are essential to build the AI infrastructure which is reliable, secure, and actually real-time scalable?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And this is usually the aspect that is missed out whenever we are going after something new, innovation, big scale, etc. Right? It is the fundamental architecture, right? And that's what I'm going to spend a couple of minutes. I think we all by now truly understand that India is at an inflection point when it comes to AI, right? You just see the energy outside, the interest from people of all age groups, all different sectors, etc. Now, it is on us to scale this by including everybody. I think if I look at, I know we spoke a lot about UPI, but that's something so close to all of us as well. It has set a real benchmark for us when it comes to reliability and at scale, right? The kind of penetration, the number of transactions that we are able to deal with UPI is really the benchmark that we need to follow when we look at taking AI at scale and taking everybody into the journey. Now for that, the architecture, how we do it is very, very fundamental, right? So let me kind of lay out few key aspects of it, right? The first one is AI has to sit inside the core public systems that we have. I think Puneet spoke about moving from pilots to actual applications and workloads. If we have to imagine that in India, we are going to touch real people, real systems, lives of our citizens. And for that, AI cannot be like a separate dashboard or a batch processing that runs differently. It has to be part of the transactions. I think one of the demos that you will see is on how you can embed fraud detection when we do UPI transaction. Because for the scale, if we have to deal UPI frauds post the event, we are not going to be able to take it to the next billion, right? We really need to have it done within that few milliseconds you need. Now, what is the architecture? What is the hardware you have to run it? What kind of models? I think that kind of thought process has to happen. Our healthcare, our citizens should not be waiting, to know the answer for their claim. It has to happen instantly, and AI has the potential for us to enable. The second aspect is, I think, we hear about this word sovereignty everywhere. India is, has kind of come up with the DPDP Act and strengthened the regulations, etc. But what is important is we have to realize every workload has its boundaries. There are some that are going to scale, probably naturally into cloud. There are some that have to stay within the boundary. So we have to kind of architecturally look at what is the hybrid approach we need. How are we going to embed compliance into it so that the innovation remains sovereign for us, right? So it's not like an afterthought, but you're compliant from day one. The third point I think that Swapna touched upon is the governance. Governance is often retrofitted. I don't think we can afford that in this AI scaling journey. It has to be engineered, what kind of trust you are building in your architecture. Are you using the right stack? Are those compliant in terms of the security requirements? I think that's the third part. The last and the interesting part, we think whenever we say scale, we think it's about compute. Actually in AI, one big change factor is the data, right? Meaning our data is fragmented, unstructured. Metadata is missing in a lot of places. And if we use that into AI, the weaknesses are going to be amplified. So getting the data architecture and cleaning and using the right data for AI is going to be very, very key. So in summary, I kind of look at these four aspects of embedding the intelligence, hybrid for compliance, governance is inbuilt, engineered, and make sure that we have the right data modernization strategy. That's going to be important for us to not just scale AI, but to make it dependable so that every citizen can actually start leveraging the effect of AI. Thank you.
Thank you such a diverse and comprehensive, extensive view of probably what it will take for us to shift from the return on investments to return on impact framework as we move forward. And I think one thing that, if I can end, and when I was entering, somebody mentioned, "Hey, why don't you give us a couplet?" So this one thing that we came out is the uniqueness of India, and that's what we say that कुंदन हुए हम आग भी अपनी लगा के हम पे किसी सुनार की मर्जी नहीं चली. India will, we have global models, but the way we are building on is our own innovation, and that's the way it will scale up going forward, adopting everything that is global, and all of us are partnering in this journey, and we look forward to partnering with each one of you to make this happen. Next time when we meet, we'll be on the next level of AI adoption. See you soon then. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now we have another power-packed panel, AI for social inclusion, which is divided into two. The first session would be AI for all, profit with purpose, converting social challenges into AI markets. Can I request all the speakers to please join me on the dais? Mr. Klaus Newman, Mr. Satinder Pal Singh, Mr. Piyush Saxena, Mr. Karthik Rajaram, Ms. Paula Goldman, Mr. Narendra Singh Yadav, and Mr. Amit Singhi. Requesting all to please join us on dais.
Yeah, that's fair, fine, that's fair. So, welcome to this important session, AI for all, profit with purpose, converting social challenges into AI markets. And I'm so happy that I see still a lot of energy into this room, despite we all have been here for the whole day and got already so much of input. Let me first introduce very briefly my co-panelists because we have really to hurry up. So we have Narendra Singh Yadav, the Chief Business Officer of Paytm, here to my left directly. Next to him, Paula Goldman. Paula is Chief Ethical Humane Use Officer of Salesforce. Welcome. Next to Paula, it's Kartik Rajaram, Country Manager India for 11 Labs. And then we have Amitabh Singh, if I'm here. No, sorry. Director CTO of IBM Research. And finally, sorry, you see, Satinder Pal Singh, CTO of AWS in India. So with that, I would like to just give a few very brief opening remarks on that session. I think from my perspective, and I have to say I lived in India and today I live in China, so I have seen the world from two different poles, so to say. But I believe what is really the same is that access to technology and access to AI is a topic, meanwhile, across the globe, and specifically, of course, also in those two countries and in the global south. And frugal AI, which is a term that also was coined not long ago, also does not only require the latest hardware, infrastructure, and software, but specifically also access. And many people today in the conference also brought the topic up that 500 million non-English speakers in India and 2.5 billion people who have not access to internet at all. So this is 1/3 of our population. And the question is, of course, from the massive investments we see into software, infrastructure, data centers, in unimaginable amounts of money to those people who have not even internet access, how do we really bridge that gap in a meaningful way? And I would really like to right away start and probably also then sit down with my panelists. This makes the, you see it, that is the normal thing. That makes the thing a little easier. Okay, yeah. And I would like to start with you, Paula, with my first question. And first of all, maybe you explain to us what do you do in a human AI officer, so to say, at Salesforce? And also, what, from your point of view, are currently the ethical stakes that are out there in bringing more people and having more people accessing AI today?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the question. Thanks for having me. So yes, I am Salesforce's first Chief Ethical and Humane Use Officer. And while the title may be hard to repeat 10 times fast, I do believe it's a job that is becoming more and more common, which is how do we make sure that we can trust that the AI that we produce? How do we make sure that our customers are able to rely on it? And that means that starting from a set of principles and values, we are thinking about both the intended and unintended consequences of the technology. We're testing it. We're putting in features to make sure that that our customers know how to get the right results from it, and so on. But to your point about this question of like lots and lots more people using AI and AI for everyone, this is a very personal question for me. You mentioned you lived in India. My first job out of college was in a village in rural Haryana at an affordable private school where there was there was a computer lab that wasn't yet hooked up to the internet. And those students who are now technology executives, there's this massive potential for AI to create bright new futures for people. And part of that is about what I just talked about, which is designing technology that's truly usable and accessible by everyone, that people know how to use it. And the other part is making sure that we're investing in the people to understand the technology, that they're ready with the technology, that they're confident with the technology, which is something else that Salesforce is doing. So for example, we have a community of almost 5 million learners of technology here in India and trained 75,000 people last year on AI. And I think both sides of those things are necessary to make this an inclusive transformation.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you very much. And you spoke a lot about access to AI and the humane access. Maybe I come to Narendra and asking also, what about the data? So do we have sufficient data in that segment of the market? And can we transform that data that is available also into meaningful applications and use to really help people from that segment?
Yeah. So 10 years ago, when we started digital payments, there were less than 1 million people who were able to accept payment digitally. It took us some 10, 12 years to provide this digital payment service to 40, 50 million merchant. The interesting change that has happened with this technology is that generally what happens in new technology that you need to explain, you need to make people aware that you should adopt it. This is how it will help. Here the demand is coming from these small businesses. They are already aware. Mm-hmm. They already know that how in what kind of different ways it can be meaningful for them. You asked about data. There is just insane amount of data that is already available in large platforms like us, where using which we are able to make meaningful applications for these small businesses. We facilitate digital payment. We are able to very easily give a chief financial officer or chief marketing officer to the small business, because we know that which SKU is running out, which SKU has the most demand in that neighborhood, but this particular small business does not have that SKU. So there is already a lot of data, and that combined with expectation of these small businesses to get the applications which will change their lives, which will help them grow their business, is going to mean that AI is actually going to reach to these 50 million merchant at absolutely unprecedented scale.
That's impressive, I have to say, and congratulations to this journey which you just described. Now we have access. We spoke about data. We also need to speak about infrastructure, of course. And I believe with Satinder from AWS, you are obviously a very strong infrastructure provider on this planet. What do you really do to enable smallest business, small-scale startups, and so on with infrastructure? And do you really see your infrastructure reaching every point in the world?
I think at AWS, we are disproportionately focused on ensuring that our technology remains frugal. We provide the best of technologies right from India region. We have 2 fully featured regions, one in Mumbai, another one in Hyderabad, delivering 240 plus services ranging from IoT, machine learning to latest AI models. But to coming back to your point on the topic of the discussion, which was frugal AI, if I have to give you my top 3, the first one is, if you're building a solution on AI, the notion that one model or one type of model is going to rule it all is a fallacy to begin with. And I think from a tech standpoint, you have to build your solution to ensure that you are making your model smallest enough that you can drive right kind of performance and right kind of a throughput with the right kind of cost structure. There cannot be a better example that I can quote than something that we do very closely at Amazon, which is Rufus. I don't know how many of you have shopped on Amazon app, you would have used Rufus. I can tell you Rufus is a generative AI shopping assistant. In the last Prime Day, we reported it did almost like 30 million interactions within 2 days. Rufus, you would be surprised to know, is from some of the technical folks in the audience, it's int 8 quantized model. What it means is a very, very small model. And it does a job, and it does a great work at that job. So that's one. The second one is, as you're building solutions, there are other components to the solution as well, not just the model itself. So whether it's RAG pipelines, whether it is re-ranking strategy, we've developed services that can scale as your needs are. The third is, I'll go back to what Paula mentioned. I think skilling is very, very important. So we have to, for startups, we provide specific skills in terms of data scientists. We have got a program that we call as GenAI Innovation Center, so we can transfer these learnings that we had at scale, building for customers and for Amazon. And till date, we have enabled more than 6.2 million users in India with skills on cloud in general and AI in specific.
That's excellent. And I also didn't know that. I mean, 2.5 million is quite a substantial upskilling, yeah, of many people. Piyush, I have a question to you. I think you work for HCL. I believe you do the Google business there, right? So it's quite a substantial part, I believe, of the HCL business. Now, you will have, of course, lots of large clients you are taking care of. But those services you offer there, can they also be transferred, yeah, to smaller companies, or also in the area of CSR, right? So is there an idea how can we enable more services for the good, also coming from corporate services and making this more accessible also to others?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the biggest challenges, how do we bridge the gap between CSR and, business outcomes? And I will just take a quick example in terms of how we are doing it in a sector where this is absolutely necessary, is agriculture sector, right? Where we are looking at how do we digitalize the complete information which is being collected in the field. And, if you look at from the farming sector point of view, there is so much of variation in terms of temperature, in terms of moisture, and seed storage and supply chain becomes extremely difficult. In fact, telemetry and logistics is another big challenge. And also, if you look at, because the data is so scattered, it is very difficult to get any insights out of that data, right? Mm-hmm. So we are working with a lot of customers in terms of, how they were doing it manually to transform it into more AI-led model, getting IoT devices to move data to cloud, build digital platforms, and synthesize this data, right? And this is how we are enabling the end user, which is farmers or agriculture organizations, to make use of AI using, a very frugal technology. From HCL Tech point of view, we have a number of services which enable this. We have a data analytics service platform, AI Foundry, which brings in complete data analytics. We have our own impact framework. We have responsible AI to make sure the services are compliant, secure, and responsible. We also have, services where we are able to eliminate the operational inefficiencies from the entire value chain, right? So that's how we are working in bridging this gap today.
So from CSR, it becomes a real profitable business also for you.
Yes, absolutely, and for our end customers as well.
Okay, that's perfect. Then over to Kartik. Kartik is the country manager at 11 Labs. We spoke briefly before we moved into this room, but maybe you can still explain to the audience in 3 sentences what 11 Labs does, and then also tell me about where do you see in language a real opportunity here in India, maybe also globally then.
Sure, thanks Klaus. Hey, great to be here, everybody. Just for everybody's benefit, I'll start off with our mission at 11 Labs. Our mission at 11 Labs is very simple. It is to make information accessible to everyone in every language, voice, and sound, right? And how do we do that? We do that by doing deep research and pushing the frontiers of audio AI, solving the very complex audio intelligence problem. And we do that by building foundational models of STD, TTS, and kind of building an orchestration on top of it, right? And we firmly believe, and all of us know this, the most natural way for humans to interact with humans or humans to interact with technology is voice. And especially in the context of talking about getting access and inclusion to the next 500 million, we think that voice, and given the complexity and the linguistic diversity that our country has, voice is the most seamless and most friction-free way of reaching out to those, right? And we are starting to see some fantastic use cases across various dimensions, right? From healthcare to skilling to education to financial inclusion to a lot of things. And at Freshworks, what we're also doing is we are working with a lot of startups. We have a startups grant program. About 500 to 1,000 startups in India work with us in terms of building agentic experiences and use cases on top of our infra layer, right? So we very firmly believe that voice is the one that is going to give access in the most seamless, in the most friction-free way to the next 500 million in our country.
Fantastic. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, because I come from Europe. It's also a very multilingual environment. And I have to say, learning foreign languages was always not my stronghold. Yeah. Amit, I have one question to you, right? When I moved to India, this is quite a long time ago, opposite of SAP Labs was GE. And back then, at that time, they had this reverse innovation case, big thing. I think it was Harvard Business Journal or so where it was published. And it was all about this kind of frugal innovation, innovation from the bottom of the pyramid, however you call it. What happens in the field of frugal innovation today? What do we really see as breakthroughs from frugal innovation or from reverse innovation today?
Yeah, I'll put a generative AI lens on it.
For sure.
Yeah. And Satinder talked about some of it around picking the right model for the right job. But you can go even further. And in terms of, if you're talking about generative AI, you can say that, okay, I've got this transform model and I'll keep making it bigger and bigger until I get AGI. Right? That's one way to look at it. But when you're thinking about frugal, you need a different mindset. You need to look at what's the use case, what's my ROI, and approach it from that lens. And we see a lot of people looking at it from that lens at different layers of the stack, starting from the hardware, the chip. So if you're only going to do inferencing, do you really need all the power of a GPU? If you're going to, if the cost to the customer is going to be largely driven by inferencing, can you optimize the chip for the purpose that it's going to be used? And a lot of companies are doing that. Startups are doing that. But then it also goes to the layer of the model architecture itself. And there's been a lot of innovations such as mixture of experts, structured state space models, and making choices about the neural network itself. If you know that I'm not going to use this neural network for answering anybody's questions across the whole world, but I'm going to use in these kinds of domains, you can actually optimize it, the architecture itself, so the neural network doesn't need to have all of those capabilities that you need, while still having the expressivity that you do need. Another layer where we are seeing a lot of optimization come up is how do you actually program. We call it prompting today, but I'm deliberately calling it programming these models. And in the world of LLMs, prompting started from the world where we said, okay, I'm going to have a model that takes any language in and generates any language out. But if we look at the world of agents, and if agents need to you don't need agents to be writing poetry. You need them to be calling tools, reasoning about plans and things like that. That is a computational type of a workload rather than a creativity workload. And there's work happening to actually convert from prompting to programming. Because once you get to programming and you have a compiler mindset, you can start bringing lot of optimizations in the way the model is being used. So at many levels, we are seeing these things. I think ultimately it has to come from the lens of the use case and the ROI to say, for this use case, how do I optimize end to end to get what I need?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think we have really now touched upon many different aspects of the AI and the affordability, I think, because ultimately I think it has a lot to do with affordability. I recall last year when I was at a conference for AI for the developing countries in Geneva. And in that day, basically, the DeepSeek model was released. Yeah, and it made a huge impact on that conference where the majority of the participants were actually from the global south. And they said, finally, we have an AI we can afford. And I think partially, at least, this hope also could be fulfilled by that model. So technology, indeed, as you said, and the way we deploy it makes a huge difference there. We are really tough in time. And I have to thank this excellent panel to keep exactly the time. 6 panelists in 20 minutes is an absolutely achievement. So maybe if you, just one final sentence from each of you, if you would have one wish to, let's say, either the corporate sector or the government in how to make a more inclusive AI happening, what would be that wish? And now I put you first. And then you just go through here, I think, with the panelists. What would be your wish to that?
I think first, the ambition, the thing is that ideally we would like all small businesses, very, very small businesses, to be able to get full suite of business services, full suite of services through which they can manage their businesses in, say, $1 or $2 a month.
Wonderful.
And
so that is very small businesses in very short sentences. Sorry for that. Paula, what is your wish?
My tagline would be put people at the center. And so when we're talking about businesses using AI and learning how to use AI, it's the people that are using it in their day-to-day work that have the best insights for how to use it. So empower them.
So empower the people. Great. So Kartik, what is your wish?
I'll talk about it from a voice standpoint, right? 3 things matter. One is quality, latency, and cost. We got to optimize for all 3. Only then it's going to work in a country like India. So that's what our mission is, and that's what we got to work towards.
Makes perfect sense. Satinder.
I think government is already doing a great job with events like this and the India AI mission. So I won't have an ask from the government or a specific advice. The only thing that I'll tell is when we talk about generative AI, there is a lot of focus on science part of it, which is model. Right? I think there has to be disproportionate focus on the engineering aspect of it. How do you make your model work as part of a solution? And there's a lot that you need to do there.
Thank you. Good. Then Amit?
Yeah, kind of similar to Satinder, right? We are developing indigenous models, indigenous GPU infrastructure. I would really like to see us get to a place where thousands of startups can directly connect to the people and focus on building high quality solutions without getting caught up in how do I tune this model, where do I put the data, all of that underlying engineering. So we need tools that plug into these sovereign AI technology.
Thank you. Thank you. And then last but not least, Piyush.
Yeah.
What's your wish?
Ensure responsible and secure AI, and in fact enforce, right? And the other thing will be invest disproportionately in upskilling people in terms of both adopting and using AI. Yeah.
The good news is you are all in positions to make this partially also happen and at least push it in your respective companies. I would like to thank everyone for joining, and also ASSOCHAM in specific for sponsoring this panel. It has been a great pleasure. And thank you to my dear panelists for being so precise and also distinct. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I request all for a group photograph?
Yes, a group photograph. Everybody stays seated. Make a group photograph. Yeah. I come a bit closer. So that, yeah, please join us. And you also have to make a picture, lovely. Somebody's taking it. Okay, good. How many panels you want? Because you move to the middle, maybe. I'll do that. 1 second, I have my dear colleague Vikas who has to make one special picture. Good. Thank you so much. Good. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
request the session moderator and also the co-chairman of the ASSOCHAM IT ITS Council, Mr. Sunil Ibrahim, to please join us on dais. Can I request Mr. Aditya Swami, MD, Play Partnership Google, Mr. Akhil Chaudhary, CEO, Managing Partner, HighSpring India, and Professor MP Gupta, Director, IIM Lucknow, to please join us on dais. Let everybody. Then over to you, Sunil ji, to moderate the session.
Thanks.
So folks, thank you for staying. So it is 5:10, it's after the official work day. So all of you in the room are providing overtime as per labor regulation. So very grateful that you have decided to spare some of your overtime for us. I'm going to kick this off. We have only 25 minutes, so I'll kick it off with perhaps 5 bullet points. And the question that I'm trying to answer in these 5 bullet points is, what innovation, or AI innovation more specifically? Okay. What innovation does India bring to the AI story? And I want to start, of course, with this QR code in DigiLocker. It's the first time I think we saw QR codes that are digitally signed and contain the image of the face. So that was a fantastic innovation. From the Sarvam story, especially the initial model release, we heard how they deal with the token tax. That's again clearly innovation. Swecha, a small group of free software developers in Hyderabad, trained a Telugu model called Chanda Mama Kadagalu using just CPUs. That's again an innovation. And the social transformation that is possible, I would like to go back to my home state of Karnataka and ask you all, how many of the primary school teachers in Karnataka, if you ask them, please introduce me to the 6 schools of thought in Hindu philosophy, how many of them can do it? I asked all the AI models available, and almost all the models did a reasonably good job. I think that is the future that we can possibly work towards. So let me start with Professor Gupta, since he's got a flight to catch. Sir, could you tell us what are the key geopolitical and regulatory challenges that need to be addressed before the developments from India can be shared more widely across the globe, especially the global south?
So there are many challenges, of course, but I think three challenges I noticed, which requires close attention. One is divergent regulatory framework that exists across nations, and that is also necessary. But I'm sure, looking at the debate going on, discourse going on across nations, began in UK 2 years back, then France, now in India. So there'll be some overarching framework which will guide nations to adapt and coordinate regulatory frameworks prevailing in nations itself. Second is weaponization of military setup. That's also very scary. And looking at our part, this part, South Asia, which is very volatile now, even nations like Himalayan nations, which are very peaceful, become restless. Left, right, also you see. So going beyond South Asia towards East, maybe one domain where we see a lot of similarities, and what we do here can spread there. Third is supply chain issues. A lot of innovations happen in North America and manufactured in Taiwan, China, Korea, elsewhere. We are on the user side. Okay, so we need to think about how can we invest into innovation R&D and also create ecosystem for right manufacturing, high quality manufacturing of these. So there are 3 things that I notice about challenges.
Thank you so much, Professor Gupta. Mr. Swami, if I can come to you, Professor Gupta was talking about these differences in regulation, which are as important as the common standards in regulation. So I wanted you to reflect briefly on India's vision for digital public infrastructure and the principles that inform that vision, and ask, what is it that companies like Google can do to allow for a dissemination of that approach to other parts of the world?
So I think the fundamental principles, I think, given all of us are using these products, is one, they've taken a very complex problem and made it very simple for the user. You talked about the DigiLocker experience. It took literally 30 seconds to enter. So taking the complex, stripping it into layers, making it very simple. And I think under that stands three fundamental tenets. I feel one, it's open source. Two, it's interoperable. And third, it's safe. And I think in many ways that these principles resonate very well with the way Google builds ecosystems. Say Android, for example, is truly open source. It gives developers tools to build very good apps. And those apps also keep users safe. You hear all about the Google narrative. Bold and responsible is very much the words we use in our AI roadmap. So I think there's a lot of similarity. But specifically with DPI, we are working very closely with Ekstep, the folks who are really fundamental to creating Aadhaar, to create DPI in a box. So think about it as a toolkit that any country can just plug into, and they don't have to start from scratch. They can roll out a series of these services. And I think the layer on top of that, which I think what Karthik from Levin talked about, is really how do we make this work in so many local languages, right? So we have this Project Vani, which is our language initiative. We are training over 150,000 hours of speech data across 100 languages. And I think with that layer on top of this DPI infrastructure, it becomes very usable for people. And the final step is like Gemma is our open model, right? So we have over 22 versions of Gemma which are available out there for anyone to build on. And I think that allows innovation to go at a rapid pace and also with the frugality that the earlier panel was talking about.
Absolutely. Those of you who have used this smaller weight Gemma models would have been able to run it on your laptops. Before I go to Mr. Chowdhury, I should apologize to all of you that we haven't been able to have Miss Anne Robinson. She had another engagement and was not able to make it, and therefore apologies that this has ended up being a manel at an event where we are supposed to discuss inclusive social transformation. So, Mr. Chowdhury, Professor Gupta spoke about the regulatory foundations that are necessary, and Mr. Swami told us that we need key components such as open source and digital public infrastructure. So once we have those building blocks, what according to you are the underutilized AI use cases that we must aggressively pursue, not just here in India, but also in the global south, South Asia? We're looking for those game changers. Do you have any of them for us?
Absolutely. In fact, thank you. Absolutely, Mr. Abraham. We had an interesting insight into the layers that Google has been, and we work very closely with Google too, so have definitely some exposure to the other side of it. But then if we look at it, the real democratization lies in building the use cases. How do we take it to the mass market? Unless we take it to the mass market, unless we bring up use cases where somebody on the street can, let's say, access credit, a farmer, he's able to get what kind of irrigation do I need to take care of? How do I take care of my pest control? He gets that capability in languages. Now, something like Vani will help enable some of those things in their own local language. And it's the same case whether we talk of South Asia or other parts of the Asia or Europe. And we do see proliferation of a lot of languages in North America as well. Now, so I would say the problem is the same. The whole story about AI, it's going to be dependent on how do we build it to scale for the masses. And that's going to happen through the use cases that we build in, where it becomes a part of day-to-day life. I think we in businesses, we keep talking of all the time optimization, profitability. But I think even that optimization or profitability is going to come about in the best possible manner when masses use it. I think I can continue, but I think looking at paucity of time.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. So, Professor Gupta, if I can come back to you. Mr. Chaudhary spoke about use cases that still have unsolved science problems, unsolved engineering problems, especially which pesticide to use in which farm in India. The data is very sparse. For a large number of small Indian languages, we have not managed to digitize training data. So how should global South countries in particular approach the question of building the correct pipeline of talent that can work on some of these problems that most probably will be ignored by global North countries? So how would you go about designing the creation of large-scale talent pipeline in the country?
Yeah, so this is one very vital issue. It will be a huge challenge to ensure that there is the right kind of talent available to feed corporations, also institutions. We have a lot of software engineers, but we need more innovators, more technology leaders, and campuses should develop curriculum to produce those kind of mindsets. If you go back to late 90s when out of government push via IT high-powered committee, then led by Mr. Jaswant Singh. He was, I think, finance minister and defense minister under Vajpayee government. And that led to 108 recommendation. And so we created Ministry of IT, a lot of software parks, and IT Act was formulated. In the same league, it was projected that IT sector will have a lot of potential, and now it is showing the results of that. So AICT at that point of time, pushed a lot of universities and colleges to start programs into CS and IT. Now it's time to take up same scale of expansion into AI area. And as I said, we need more innovators and technology leaders. So curriculum should be very skillfully worked out, and they should be getting a lot of access to live projects and a lot of internship as well. If I look at talent pool of the kind I'm referring to, I'm referring to my own institute. On 12th of this month, Honorable Shiksha Mantri ji launched our program. We are offering now, going to start from July this year, a BS program, 4-year in AI and business analytics, also a tech MBA. It's a very unique paired program, and that ensures that after 4 years we get one kind of technocrat, but after 4 years the student can still remain with us, get a very powerful MBA degree, and that is going to create a person who will be able to visualize unmet need and conceive a solution, AI solution, and keep on improving that and commercialize. So in the scale of TRL from 1 to 9 scale, I think our setup is more competent. So we are also going to work with ITs as well. So it's one instance I'm referring to, which is going to in a small way contribute to filling the gap of talent pool. I'm sure there will be other programs coming forward soon.
Thank you, Professor. Mr. Swami, what Professor Gupta focused on is the top-down. What is it that the government should do? What kind of policies need to be in place? What kind of laws need to be in place? What kind of reform is needed in national curriculum? His asks, so very big asks for government, but very small asks for industry. He just said, let's work on some industry projects. We should have some internships. But surely industry can do more than that. And the problem statement is rather hard because there are large cultural and linguistic diversity also. And so what is the approach that you think would be most effective and most scalable when we want to do AI skills development at nation scale?
Yeah, I think nation scale is the key. The job is not to skill thousands of engineers. The job is to skill millions of non-tech workers, right? I think if you define the problem in that way, I think maybe there are a few ways to do it. So one is what I call like quick bite-size skilling, right? We do this program called Google Career Certification. It's not a yearly program. It's months. It's like done in a matter of months. You can pick like analytics as an area and you can quickly skill yourself. AI Foundation, you can skill yourself, right? So I think that's of offering you like the sachet type skilling. Then I think is some of the foundational work that we are doing with METI and a lot of the government to really inculcate deep AI learning in schools, in universities, in colleges, so that I'm really excited to hear this tech MBA and things like that. I really bring it at like, when you learn physics and chemistry, you should also be learning AI in school, right? Thank you. And finally, I think like a lot of people around who are maybe got fear of technology, because products that we use every day, and I talk about our suite of products, Google Workspace, Google YouTube, Play Store, are all have AI now inbuilt. I think the fear of AI is now being broken away because it's become so simple. You realize you can be so much more productive. And I call that learning by doing. As you become more and more comfortable with these tools, you realize how much more can be unlocked. And as you spend more time on these products, you start becoming an AI native yourself. So I think if you think about these, like one is through products, one is through curriculum, and one is just like the cherry on top, what you need for today. That could be a model that, allows us to skill at scale. All of this needs strong private-public partnership. And I think today is a good display of how that can come together to move things forward.
Thank you, Mr. Swami. Mr. Chaudhary, if I can come to you for the last question, and then I'll have a quick opportunity for all the panelists to respond to a single question. And to go back to a story from Karnataka again, and this is Azim Premji Foundation. For years they put computer labs in schools, and the thesis was that the teacher is not very important, so teacher can be replaced. And then a new CEO of the foundation did a systematic survey and realized that there is zero impact. There is a bit of a novelty impact when you introduce the computer, but after that there is zero impact. So how should we go about? We shouldn't repeat the old mistake of always replacing the human. Sometimes we need the AI to empower and to enable the human. So how should established industries, especially in South Asia, go about thinking of humans and AI and productivity?
I think a great question, and this is what has been haunting the people who have been working with a lot of organizations. I do come across a lot of people who think their jobs are going to be displaced. And if we look at South Asia specifically, the organizations are people dense, right? And so the scare is a little bigger over here, while it pervades across the globe. Now, whereas the reality is, if we really delve into the history, the evolution, and how tech has shaped it across the last couple of decades, I think we are going to create bigger opportunities. Now, organizations keep talking of optimization, cutting costs, and replacing human beings, right? Cutting down on people. Whereas what we need to do is, how do we augment the capabilities of the people who are already working with? It's the inspired workforce which can create legacies for the organization. And now here, I think what was very well mentioned by both my panelists was reskilling. How different programs are being run to reskill people. Now that's how organizations have to run those programs like micro certifications. Of course, this is the age of micro learning. So I think organizations, while on the job during the day, there are moments, small moments when people can do micro certifications on some micro capabilities. That's one approach. And how do we really enable that their work, the burnouts that happen today? A lot of times people are stretching by number of hours across their days. They are highly stressed. Now, if we are augmenting the capabilities of people, if it's becoming an assistant to them, I think, and if we can achieve that work-life balance, we have a creative, inspired workforce. I think we can contribute to much better, stronger organizations and contribute to a much better world as well. So I think some of the points, again, I'll say, if we have time, I can talk more about it. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are down to the last 5 minutes, so I want to do the last quick go around. But I want to thank my panelists for their inspiring interventions. We started with the room half full, and now we've got the room full, and we've got folks standing as well. So thanks to everybody that have joined us through this session. Hopefully, the last question will make it worth this extra effort of joining us. And this question is, to each one of you, what is your boldest prediction of the biggest transformation to the socio-economic landscape of South Asia by 2030? And what gives you the confidence that this transformation will be A, positive, and B, equitable? So let's start with you again, Professor Gupta.
I don't know. It is very scary to predict future, given the way things are changing. But I'm conscious about challenges that we face, and I had chance to meet my colleague at IIT Madras, head of School of AI. Also, yesterday I met my colleague at IIT Delhi, also School of AI head, and both put one thing to caution me about this program, because in India the challenge of having not adequate access to kind of computing power we need to sustain the kind of solutions. And good thing our Minister of Electronics and IT, I think I heard him saying that Government of India has set aside $70 billion to create that kind of infrastructure. So it's a enough amount, or I don't know, but that is the one thing I look forward to things happening, and then things will fall in line after that.
Clearly, Professor's LLM has very low temperature, so he's not willing to shift from the truth. But can we come to you, Mr. Chowdhury, and raise the temperature in your generative AI model and make a bold prediction, even if it turns out to be a false prediction?
No, absolutely. Thanks for saying that, and that's how I've been, and I consider failing to be my strength. So I'm happy to take a bold call, provided everyone here thinks it's a bold call. Okay. So my personal feel is that in next 4 years or 10 months, by around 2030, I think AI is going to be mainstream. What I mean is, like electricity, internet, it's going to be part of our day-to-day lives. We may not even have to say that, yeah. And of course, it will be powered by, I do expect that South Asia is going to play a leading role. We talked about use cases. We have the population, the youth, people who are willing to take those risks, people who are willing to take those challenges, be open to jugards as well, willing to go those extra steps. Now these are the people I think who are going to contribute to building those use cases, which are going to contribute to making the world a better place. So that's
Sir, I'll stop
the
with the-
massification.
Okay.
I think AI will reach the
Yeah,
masses.
I think not everybody understands how bold that claim is, that AI will become mainstream. Only 5% of this country has ever been on an aeroplane, 125-year-old invention. So a very bold prediction, but over to you, Mr. Swami. Close us out.
Keeping
with
us
your
in
blows.
the theme of AI for everyone. Every single person in this room will have a 24/7 AI helper living inside your phone, who will do all your mundane tasks for you. Booking a flight, buying your groceries, booking your dentist appointment, so that all of us have more time to do quality stuff at work, for society, and with family and friends.
Thank you, Mr. Swami. That's, again, an incredible vision of what the future can look like. Thank you to this fantastic audience for staying with us over office hours and for giving us the overtime. Very grateful indeed. And thanks to Asuchem for hosting us as a panel.
Thank you to the panelists. Before we close, can we request for a group photograph?
Thank you, sir.